and welcome to Python 150. In this series, I'm going to be taking on 150 Python challenges from this book by Nichola Lacey called Python by Example. And this book is amazing, a really good resource if you're thinking about learning programming, especially programming with Python. There are some lovely challenges in here, but there's also nice example code and things, and it's really beautifully done. Would really recommend purchasing this if you're thinking of learning Python. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be solving each challenge of the 150 challenges, but I'm also going to be solving them in three ways: easy, medium, and difficult, so that you can get an idea for different programming concepts and how application design and things like that come into things. So hopefully it should be a pretty fun journey. All of the code will be on GitHub, which I'll include a link for in the description, and we are on episode 1 of 150. As you can see, I've got my little workspace up here. I've got a folder called Python 150. This is my project folder. I've got a few things that GitHub generated for me when I created this project. You don't need to worry about that too much. I've got my module, which is called challenges, and inside that I've got an init file and a main file. The main file just imports from something called the basics. The basics is here, this folder, which has itself just a couple of files. So challenge 001, you can't start a file name with a number, so C001, that's got the code for today, and we've got a challenge for the day here. And an init file which just imports those functions from there into the basics, and then this main imports them from the basics into here, and then I call the functions here. So this beginner, when we say beginner here, we're importing it from the basics is importing it from C001, and C001 we have a function called beginner. And so this is where I'm going to be putting the code for the very first challenge. So let's crack straight into it. So challenge 1, nice and simple, and in the book you get loads of really nice example of how you can all the different code blocks you'll need to solve this. It's really good, really useful if you're solving this. I've stored them all up here though, so we're going to do this sans book. So to start off with, ask for the user's first name and display the output message, hello first name. Okay, seems pretty straightforward, yeah? So first thing is we need to ask for the user's first name. Oh, I guess I should just show you that I can run this by just doing this in the terminal, and you can see it prints out beginner, medium, advanced, because in main we print out beginner, medium, advanced, and then when I run it and we've actually got something, it will print out something better. So let's get started on beginner. So we need to ask for the user's first name. So we're going to say input, what is your first name? And then we need to display the output message, hello first name. So we're going to say print, your name is, and then we're going to add their name. Now what is their name? Well, they're going to type it in, and using this input function allows the user to type something in. So we're going to store it in a variable called name, and then we're going to say your name is name. And we're just adding this together. These have to be in quotes. Adding name is equal to input. Lovely stuff. So let's give this a run, see how we're doing. Ooh. Okay, so it's asking me what is my first name. Let's call ourselves Bob. Your name is Bob. There we go. Challenge solved. Number 1 down. But we're going to move on to medium now. Okay. So ask for the user's first name. Now we can do this in a much nicer way using a well, firstly we can format it a lot nicer. So we can say something like print, what is your first name? And then when we say input, we can actually just put something like name or first name. And this isn't done, but if we just see this in the terminal, when we run this, beginner, what is your first name? Bob. Yep. Medium, what is your first name? You see how it's formatted a lot nicer? First name, we just wrote Bob like straight after this question mark here. It's a bit sloppy. Here it's a bit more formal, feels a bit nicer. But this is all just a little bit, I don't know, it's not great. So what we're going to do is we're going to model this data. Okay, so we're going to use something called a data class, and we're going to say class person, and person has a first name. Now in Python, when we write variable names, they're always lowercase, and each word is separated by an underscore. It's called pothole case. So this first underscore name, that is how we name it properly. A class though has a capital letter. That's the only exception. Its data class is complaining, so I'm going to press Control full stop, and I'm going to import data classes. Yeah, I'll leave that comment at the top for now. Okay, so person is first name, and when we create a person, so we're going to say we're going to make a function called def from user input, and we need to put self because we're referring to this instance of the class, and we are going to say what we're going to say. We're actually going to make this a class method, and we don't want this to be self, we want it to be CLS, and we're going to return CLS where first name is equal to name, and actually let's maybe store first name up here, equals, and then we're going to say we're going to grab these lines from here, we come up here and pop them here, and I'm going to turn this into first name equals first name. So we're returning a class which is a new instance of person. Person is a class I just made up, I could have called it anything, and person has a first name, and the first name is a string, so it's just text. We create a class method, so this is a way of making a new person, and we're making it from user input. So what I could do here is I could say person, and then I could just say first name equals Bob, right? And that would create me a person. I could say Bob. I could say Bob equals person, first name equals Bob, and there we go. I've got a Bob person, and I could say Bob dot first name, and that refers to this property here on person. But I don't know what the name of this person is going to be. So I want to create a person from user input. So I'm going to say person dot from user input. Oh, need a capital P, and then I'm going to call this person, I guess. Person equals person dot from user input, and we're going to run this class method. It takes CLS, which represents this class, and we are returning a new version of the class where the first name is whatever the user tells us using this input function. So we've got the user input. That was the first bit. Ask for the user's first name. Job done. So secondly, we need to print it out. So we can say person dot first name, and we can just print, and we need I guess instead of concatenating like we did last time, so let's get rid of that. I'm doing the letter F followed by some speech marks. And last time we just did your name is plus name, right? I'm going to take this your name is, pop it in here, but then I'm going to put some curly brackets in, and I'm going to say person dot first name, and that is going to print out what their first name is. So let's see it in action. I'm going to we're halfway through doing this. Okay, cool. So let's clear that. Let's run this again. We're going to do the first one, Bob. Yep. Medium. Okay, so what is your first name? First name, I'm going to do a different one, Jim. Okay, and here, there we go. Your name is Jim. So in medium, that has worked again. Okay, we've got exactly the same result, apart from I put in Jim, not Bob. We've got exactly the same result, but we've done it slightly differently. And now we've got our data in a bit more of a structured way, for lack of a better word, structured in more of a structure. I didn't need the "ud" on the end. So now we're creating a person, and then we're printing out what that person's first name is, and we've got that stored on the person class. Okay, time for advanced. Now, I'm gonna leave this in here just so it's all together. I would be tempted to put this in another file and add it in, but let's not get carried away too. Let's not get too carried away. Okay, so we've got ourselves a person, and now we need to. I'm going to use exactly the same thing to get the person here. Like that kind of works, right? I could do some more things around this, but it would just be a bit silly, really, a bit over the top. But now I want to think about how we could change this line. Your name is person.firstname, because we're just printing it here, and that's not great. It's a bit kind of sloppy. So what I want to do is I want a way of printing this out without just saying print. Okay, we're going to say print somewhere, but without in the advanced function saying print. So what we're going to do is we are going to add a method onto this. Okay, and we are going to add a string method. So we're going to say def __ str. We're going to pop self in the brackets there. And we could put a little return type on here if we wanted to, which we return a string from this. Now this is a built-in function, method, whatever you want to call it. And this exists in every class on Python. So if you're making a class, it has a str method. And what we're doing is we're overwriting it by defining it here. And essentially what this is saying is, if you want to convert this class, if you want to convert everything here into a string, then call this method, because this method will tell you. And by default, it will do something weird. In fact, let's if I get rid of this, let's just try it. So I should be able to just say print person. Okay, and then if we run this, Bob, let's go Alice. Okay, you can see there when we printed it out, it says person with first name equal to Alice. So we're not getting out just the first name. We're not getting out a nice string. We're getting this whole object printed out. So we want to print it out a bit nicer. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a str function. So we're going to say string self, and we're going to give a return type by making this little arrow with a hyphen and a greater than symbol, and we're going to say str because we're returning a string. And what we're going to say in here, well, what we're going to do is we're just going to return self, so that's the object, this current instance of the object. So we might have made it with Alice or with Bob, then that refers to that instance dot first name. Okay, so now by adding that, instead of seeing person first name equals Alice, what we should see is if I do Bob and Alice, we should see now it's just printing out Alice. Okay, but so that's the string method in action, the str or dunder str, double underscore. The Python folk call it a dunder, and dunder str. So that gives us a string representation of this object, and we need to display the output message hello. Oh wait, I did this so wrong. This doesn't need to be your name is. This needs to be hello. Okay, cool. Instead of, okay, I've done this. Why didn't you tell me? I've been doing this for ages. It's unacceptable. It's alright, I'll let you off. So we actually, we can't just print out the person's name. We need to do something with that. And what we're going to do is we're going to make something called a greeter. So I'm going to make a class called a greeter. Yeah, why not? And we are going to make a method called, lowercase, greet person. So we expect self because it's a method on the class, so we always have to pass in self. I'm not going to get into when you don't always have to, but I'm not going to get into that. We always have to, and I'm going to expect a person which is of type person. That colon tells me what kind of type that is, and it's the person type that we've made, this class here, which is this class here, which has a first name. So now that we've defined that, it will allow Python to know. So if we say something like person dot, it now knows, look, it knows we've got a first name, and it knows we've got from user input, which is these two things here, first name from user input. So we can say person, we don't want to do that though, we want to print, we're going to do a format string, and we're going to say hello person dot first name. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to make a new greeter. Oh, let's make a new greeter, but with a greeting. That's such a good idea. That's what this advanced thing is all about. Is just it's going as big as we can. So let's go. This isn't massive, but we're gonna do init, and then we're gonna do self, and we're gonna ask when we make a greeter. We're gonna ask for some kind of greeting, and then we're gonna say self dot underscore greeting. The underscore means it's private. It means anything outside of it can't access it, and I'll show you that in a minute. Equals greeting. Cool. So we've got a greeter class. When we make it, when we use dunder init, double underscore init, we expect the self, which gets passed in automatically, and we expect a greeting, which we store in the class. And then when we greet a person, instead of saying hello person.firstname, we're going to say self.greeting space person.firstname. I'm going to print that out. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this print down here in advanced. And what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to say greeter equals greeter. Greeter with a capital G on this side. And we need to pass in a greeting. I'm going to say greeting equals, and let's say, just for demonstration's sake, I'm struggling to think of hello in any other language right now. So I'm just going to say welcome instead. Oh god, my brain went dead. Okay, and then we're going to say greeter dot, and then you can see here we've got greet person. You can also see underscore greeting. Okay, now the underscore tells us that this is private and we shouldn't access it. And that's why I added an underscore there, because we shouldn't be looking at that from outside of the class. It's only for when we're inside the class, like here, where we can actually use underscore greeting. Outside of it, that underscore is basically saying, hey, don't touch me because weird things might happen. Not that it's going to happen here, because it's just a greeter. We're just going to greet someone. So we're going to greet person, and our person is going to equal this here. Now I've used the word person a lot, so I'm going to change this to user, okay, just so that you can see that user here, and I'm going to say person equals user. So this user is a person object, and we call from user input, which gets us their first name. We then have a string representation of this person object, and then the greeter takes this person object. And, we don't need to call first name because we've got that string representation. We can just greet the person. So we can say self.greeting person. Okay, if this is working, this should say welcome Alice in advanced. Let's find out. Okay, Bob, Jim, and Alice. Welcome Alice. There we go. Lovely. Okay, two things. Firstly, we always want this capitalized. Okay, so for instance, let's do this again. Bob, Jim. Okay, now what if someone types the Alice like this? Okay, so we've got a mixture of uppercase and lowercase letters. Then when we welcome Alice, we also print it out like that, and that's not great. So what I'm going to do is, in this string representation, I'm going to say return self.firstname dot lower So we're going to convert it all to lowercase, and we're going to put the brackets after lower there. And then I'm going to say dot capitalize. So the very first letter is set to its uppercase version. And that just means that whenever we type, whatever we type in, it will actually come out looking nice. So here, let's run this again. Bob, Jim, and then I'm going to do a weird casing thing again. And there we can see Alice has actually been printed out nicely. And for the challenge, it's not welcome, it's hello. So we've got our user, which is a person object that we get from user input. We've got a greeter, which is set with the greeting hello. And then the greeter greets the person, and the person is our user object that we create here. And let's see this all in action for the final time. Bob, actually let's get a bit higher up here. Okay, what's your first name? So this is our beginner script, okay? And just to review, this is what we're doing here. Name equals input, what is your first name? And then we print hello Bob. Medium, what is your first name? So on medium, we're getting this from user input. So we're using this user input thing that we created in the medium task. I'm going to be Jim here. In fact, let's just do like lowercase and then a capital M, and you'll notice that we're getting that out as well in the medium because we didn't think about how we actually process the data. And then advanced, what is your first name? First name is Alice with all capitals, apart from the A, just to really drive home a point, okay? So this is our advanced, getting our person, and you'll notice in this advanced thing here, there is no print and there is no input. We've totally abstracted that side of things away, and we're using concepts that are familiar to us. Everyone knows what a person is, right? Everyone knows what a user is. Everyone knows what a greeting is, okay? And so the code actually becomes really easy to read now. User is a person from user input. Greeter is a greeter with the greeting of hello. And then we greet a person, and that person is the user. And we've made this really nice kind of almost like a sentence style code here, which makes it really easy to read and really easy for other people to read as well and to understand what's going on. I'm not saying this is the best approach. There are a million ways you could do this, and I should probably start every challenge with saying that. There is a million ways you could do this. So, first name Alice, bang, hello Alice. And that is challenge 1 done. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in challenge 2.